Recording, Chair.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody, and a particular welcome to Emily King, who's Director of Community at West Sussex, who's our guest speaker, who's going to be speaking to us later. Welcome, Emily. And also welcome to these gentlemen. I'm just going to read them out if you don't mind. We have Graham Radford. Which one's Graham? Thank you, Graham. Nice to see you. Graham is from Felbridge and Sunnyside Cricket Club. We have Ray and Leslie Dennis.
Yes, here.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. From Ashurst Wood Junior Football Club. We have Steve Phillips, of course. Where's Steve?
Good evening.
Good evening, Steve. Nice to see you.
And you. Thank you for the invite.
The Meads Football Club. We have Steve Hill from Imberhorn School. Nice to see you, Steve. And Peter, who's we can't see at the moment. All we've got is your name, Peter, but that's good enough for anybody, I would think. We have Christian Hunt from the Cricket Club. Christian, where are you? No, we haven't got Christian.
Not sure that he's here, Chair.
Never mind. Well, hopefully, Peter, we can see a murky picture of you now. It's very good to see you, sir.
Christian's down as Lewis Hunt.
Ah, right. Yes.
Okay, let's get started. The first part is, of course, public question time. We don't have anybody who's asked to put a question to us, but is there any member of the public that wants to raise a question of the council? That's good. I'm very pleased. In which case we shall move along. And the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Julie, who do we have apologies for absence from?
Apologies from Councillor Scott, who's I think still stuck trying to get his way through the Dartford tunnel, so I don't think he'll be able to make it this evening. Otherwise, I think we're all here.
It can be a little tinker, that Dartford tunnel can't it? So can I have a vote on accepting Tony's apologies? I'll put that forward. Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Adam. Hands up for those who agree. Excellent. Thank you very much. Those apologies are accepted. And we need to confirm the minutes of the Town Council meeting held on the 5th of October. This is for accuracy purposes. Can I have a second for those, please?
I'm happy to second, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed, Helen. And so can I put that to a vote? Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Now I need to receive any declarations of personal or pecuniary interest. Is anybody interested at all? No. Has anybody got any particular interests? No, we have none. Thank you very much indeed. So moving along to Town Mayor's announcements. I would like to raise a few things with you just very quickly, and then we'll move along. Some of the things that I've done have really, you've got a list of all the things that I've managed to do this year. You can understand that, I mean, following a guy like Danny is very difficult anyway, terrific as he was. But also the fact that with coronavirus, we've had some really big problems to do anything as far as mayoral things are concerned. I was able to go along with the High Sheriff and our Andrew from St Swithin's to the Quarry Cafe to present the award to Sarah Howland for the Quarry Cafe and all the great work that they do, that she does personally amongst the people at the Quarry Cafe. Another thing I'd like to bring to you was Ron Woolley's funeral. Dear Ron, who carried the flag for the British Legion at a number of events over a number of years, a very good close friend to most of us. Had it been a different circumstance, I'm sure that there would have been far more people there, but I was happy to represent you and the council at Ron's funeral. The next thing I'd like to bring before you is the Greenaway Foundation. The Greenaway Foundation. Darren Greenaway organised a charity of his own, a foundation of his own, and each year to a number of families, they organise what amounts to a hamper for people that need a little bit of extra help at Christmas. And it's been steadily rising, and this year it was 525 families received that help, and I was very pleased to go along as mayor and as your representative to help with that. And in addition to that, they also deliver to children that in straitened circumstances might not get a present. They call it wishes, and indeed with the 525 families, 400 children received wishes, and I was very proud to take some of those things along to East Grinstead people in need this year. And the final thing I'd like to bring for you is a dear lady, a young lady of 100, whose birthday was this Sunday. I was very pleased to go along and represent you and talk to Effie. She does not look her age. If her grandson's anything like her, we're stuck with it for years. But she's a lovely lady, and it was an absolute pleasure to go along and represent the town and you on her birthday on Sunday. They're the only things I wanted to bring before you. And the other thing is that the F&GP meeting, these lovely people that have come along tonight, the representatives of the various clubs and organisations in the town have received through the F&GP grants of between 450 and 500 pounds. They know exactly how much they're getting. I'm very pleased for them. We're going to ask them to come along and have a photo shoot with the mayor in the hall individually. But I would like to ask if there are any of them that would like to maybe say something. Perhaps Graham, you'd like to say something on behalf of Felridge and Sunnyside, just for a couple of seconds about the club and what you want to do. Can we unmute him? Where is he?
I think he's going to have to unmute himself.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you, John. Yeah, Graham Radford, I'm president of Felridge and Sunnyside Cricket Club. We're a community cricket club based just on the border of Surrey and Sussex, founded in 1893. We run 3 sides on a Saturday, side on a Sunday, and a midweek side, and a junior section of 5 different age groups for both boys and girls. So the money that the Town Council kindly provide us will go towards equipment for the juniors, something that we are very, very strong about in terms of the development of juniors, particularly this year with the lack of availability of sports for the children. We managed to get the children out there back in July, and we had a reasonable season for them. So it's very pleasing that we can be supported by the local community. And yeah, let's hope for 2021 when we can have a full season, but we wait to hear.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Graham. That's great news. Ray and Leslie, would you like to say something on behalf of the Ashurst Wood team? You have to unmute yourselves, guys. No, you're still muted. No, I'm afraid you're still muted.
There we go.
Is that better?
Well done, guys.
It's a terrible thought that you can't hear me. But anyway, Mr. Town Mayor and councillors, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much. The £500 is more than welcome. In this terrible time, we actually are losing over £2,000 due to fundraising we can't do. And we've also got to now buy sanitisers for all our coaches, you know, so they can sanitise balls and things like this, and basically keep the children safe. But Ashurst Wood, even though it's slightly out of East Grinstead, 90% of our children are from East Grinstead.
Yeah.
We sort of fill the gap, if you like. The Meads is obviously a much larger outfit, but we take up anyone who obviously can't get into other clubs around the area. Yeah, it's fantastic for us to get £500. I know it sounds quite sort of annoying that we can't do fundraising. So you can imagine what £500 will do to a club like Ashurst Wood. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much for coming along tonight.
Pleasure.
Steve Phillips, East Grinstead Meads, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor. And first of all, I'd say thank you very much to the Town Council for this grant to keep football and sport going in general. We are, like the other two clubs that have just come on, primarily a youth-based organisation. Currently, we have 25 youth teams. And for the first time, showing that we're actually growing, we've not only we've got an adult team, but we've got a vets team as well nowadays. So we haven't quite got to the stage where some of the players used to be youth and now they're vets, but we're not far off it. Like Ashurst Wood was saying, that fundraising and sponsors are very difficult to do this year, for obvious reasons. But we tried to keep the football going. We restarted as soon as we can. But to do that, we need to get all the PPE in place, hand sanitizer, hand wipes, notices, and everything like that. And with we've got 29 teams. That's 29 copies of everything we need to get. So, because they all train in different locations at different times. So it is a big, I think between the sports clubs of East Grinstead, we've probably been keeping Amazon going by the amount of orders we've had to do. And of course, last year we had to terminate the season early, so this year we gave reduced fees to all our members, and unfortunately this season looks so it's going to go the same way, in that we won't be able to complete the season. So we'll be looking to make reduced membership fees for next year. So that again is taking down our income, but we feel it's only fair in that if we can't supply what we thought we might be able to supply, then we can carry on going. But this £500 will go a long way towards keeping all our volunteers fully equipped with PPE and all their certification up to date as well, with safeguarding and first aid. So I'd like to just say thank you very much to the Town Council for continually support the youth sport in East Grinstead.
Good to hear, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about it. Bless you. Thank you. And Steve Hill from Imberhorn.
Thank you, Tam. Nice to see everybody. Hope everyone is well and had a good Christmas and New Year. Thank you also for allowing us to apply again. I've applied under various guises, but this year is for the Girls Football Development Programme that we've been running for the last 6-7 years. It's still going really strong. We've got over 30 girls training on a Monday and a Friday at Imberhorn. And it's good timing that we can do this meeting as we're about to become FA affiliated as what they call a Wildcats facility. So that'd be really good to have that FA accreditation with us, which will just go to help promote girls football in the area much wider. And that will be the first one of that programme in Mid Sussex. So again, that's a really positive move. So we're really pleased about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for coming along and telling us about it. Bless you. Peter Reid, East Grinstead Rugby Club. Would you like to say a few words, sir?
Yeah, I would, John. First of all, thank you so much to the Town Council, because unlike the football guys, we've been in real dire straits because the nature of rugby is a contact sport, and due to COVID, contact has been more or less stopped. So we've had people at the club. We no longer have people at the club now, because now we're in Tier 4. Everything's stopped again, which means that rugby clubs live and die on their bar income and their catering income, and that has completely ceased to be. So we are in dire straits, really. Also, the tragic shooting of our coach, Matt Ratner, meant that the interest in the club was phenomenal, and we quadrupled the number of people at training. So because of that, we've had to provide extra equipment, particularly things like balls and tackle bags, because people can only train in groups of 6, which does require an awful lot of equipment. Otherwise, people are just standing around in the cold and the wet, which they don't want to do. And it's been absolutely amazing. We've had 30 women up training along with girls, and I'm pleased to say that both my granddaughters have in fact started playing rugby, one for the under-15s and one for the ladies team. So I'm absolutely chuffed. On top of that, a lot of colts, the first team obviously are training as much as they can do, but it's only skills based. They can't do any contact. So this £500 that you've given us is just an absolute lifeline, and I'm I'm not afraid to say that. Well, I'm out there with feelers trying desperately to try and keep some more coming in, because we are it's a big club. It takes a lot of income to keep it running. So I'm really, really grateful, and thank you so much to all of you, all the councillors, and for voting for us to get this money. It's been grateful, because the club is at the moment suffering with COVID, probably more than the football guys, because as I said, we can't have any contact. So we have got training, but it's not rugby. And can I just thank the guys from Ashurst Wood for their really nice email when Matt died, to say thank you. It was much appreciated.
Thank you very much indeed, Peter. I know the efforts that you've put in, and indeed all of you. You're not Christian, are you, Mr. Hunt? Would you like to say a few words about the cricket club?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for the invite. I really appreciate it. I must change my hand on there and not be my son. It's lovely to see some of you, especially I've known a few of you as well for a very long time. So it's been a very interesting year. It was nice of Boris Johnson to do an about turn in 7 days to try and get cricket played. We've got 5 Saturday senior teams, 9 junior teams, 2 Sunday sides, a midweek team as well. 2 very successful summer camps that run as part of two guys that play for the club, and they've had coaching camps during the summer. We've now got 3 grounds. We've just opened up the Hammerwood ground as well, between Tunbridge Wells and East Grinstead, which is a real development for us, especially as we weren't able to use the Fonthill ground this year because our hosts, the Church of Scientology, had declined us using the facility, which did hamper us somewhat. But they have been very useful and very helpful in the past. We've had a winter programme all set up and ready to go, but obviously with COVID not happening, we've not been able to get inside and actually deliver it. It was really well developed by Will Adkin, who's an East Grinstead boy through and through, and ex-first-class cricketer who was very keen to run it, but it will be certainly something that we'll do next year. But the £500 grant will, without doubt, be spent developing our youth sport and cricket. It's going to be used towards developing the All-Star Cricket Programme, which is an initiative by the ECB. It's basically there for 5 to 8-year-olds to try and establish their first experience of cricket, to make it fun, entertaining and enjoyable. So the idea is that it will allow us to put a handful of really experienced coaches, 2 of which will be first-class cricketers, 1 of which hopefully will be back from Australia, who's had some international experience as well as coaching. So the idea is to give the Grinstead youth in the area an opportunity to come and just have fun, enjoy themselves and experience what a great facility the cricket club is. So yes, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks, Lewis, and thank you to all of you for coming along tonight, but also for all the efforts that you put in with our young people on behalf of sport, which is so important. Thank you so much, all of you. Okay, we need to move to our leader of the council, to Dick Swetman. Would you like to lay before the council items that you'd like to lay before the council, town leader?
Thank you, Town Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Needless to say, we're in unprecedented times at the moment. It's a bit of an understatement, and we're hope to see what the Prime Minister says in his address at 8 o'clock this evening. Moving on, as you know, as reported on the 10th of December at the Amenities and Tourism Committee, it was agreed that the Meridian Hall could be used as a vaccination centre. Things have moved on since then. They've actually put up on their own website that they were going to actually take over the hall from the 4th, which is today. And I understand they've started moving some of their bits and pieces in their furniture, chairs, etc. There's hopefully, as we understand, and there will be a rollout of the vaccine probably the following week, but that is down to them. It's what the town council have done is actually hired the hall to the NHS. So it's really nothing to do with the town council at the moment. It's purely down to the NHS on their logistics, on how they operate and when they roll out the vaccine. So I'm hoping and praying that that will be, as we understand, maybe next week. But that is purely down to them. So I think that if that's the case, that is, which is looking the case, is very good news for East Grinstead, and let's hope we can move forward and get a lot of people vaccinated. So basically, I'll keep keeping it brief. So I'll end there, Town Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Town Leader. That's really good news, and let's hope and pray all of us that that's exactly what's going to happen. Can I just say at this point that our sports visitors, please don't feel as though you've got to. It's lovely to have you here, but if you feel that you'd like to go, that's entirely up to you, and we will not take it as a slight, I promise you. So if you'd like to leave, that's entirely up to you guys, okay? Thank you so much for coming along tonight. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. I might disappear now.
Okay, that's fine, Peter. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lewis.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Steve. Nice to see you, mate. Thanks so much, guys. It's lovely to see you all. Item 7 is to dispose of any business outstanding from the last meeting. There is none. And so I'm very pleased to say that we're going to move on to our Principal Council update from Emily. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me. I really, it's great to join it. And I feel so bad because you're all looking really smart. And I didn't have the chance I was hoping to run upstairs and put my glad rags on. So I'm still in my scruffy home office kit. So apologies, but I needed to be warm. So I'm Emily King. I'm the Director of Communities at the County Council. And I was just hoping to just spend a few minutes really, I suppose, just maybe giving you a little bit of an update on my portfolio and where things were this morning when I started work. They might not be where we finish at the end of the day. And then really I thought probably the most useful thing was just for us to have a conversation and for me to try and answer any questions that you might have and to really pick up on where you might want to go. So I thought I'd save us all from the joy of a presentation or PowerPoint slides. So if that's okay, I'll just rattle through what my portfolio looks like, and then you can ask me whatever you fancy and I'll see whether I can answer. If not, I've got my notebook and my pen, so I will scribble and come back to you. So I have an amazing portfolio and I'm incredibly lucky and reasonably new in post. So I've done just over a year now in this role initially, and sort of on an interim basis, and then picking the post up substantively in September. So it's probably not been the year that I had anticipated that it might have been, and I've certainly not been out and about as much as I would have hoped to. But I'm not new to the County Council. I've worked for West Sussex for over 20 years, so I've been around for a while, so I've got a reasonably good handle, I think, on who we are as a local authority. But my portfolio now is very diverse, so I'm really I suppose right in the heart of our community response. I've got a variety of services. I've got our 36 libraries in our prison library. I'm responsible for births, deaths, marriages, the coroner service, all of those kind of elements in that space. I have responsibility around community safety and wellbeing, so everything from our response around crime and disorder through to managing our permanent gypsy and traveller sites, our resettlement of refugees and migrants. I'm responsible for the record office, and so our sort of our archives, our heritage, as well as our modern records and our legal requirements there. I've got responsibility around our growth work, so the infrastructure work that we're doing, particularly in mid Sussex. So Burgess Hill, which I know is not your patch, but the new Burgess Hill Library being an example, I suppose, of some of the growth in one public estate activity. I'm responsible for all of our customer experience and customer and digital work. So that's all of our contact centres, everything that we do that kind of sits in terms of that front face for the members of the public. And also then around our partnerships, our communities, those teams that are working directly with our districts and boroughs. So it's quite a wide ranging response, and in there are snippets and individuals that no doubt you will have come across. So Sue Furlong, who provides a significant amount of support for us around our relationship with town and parish councils, the Operation Watershed kind of connection, right the way through then to our community hub, which, as you'll know, is something that we set up in March to provide some of that infrastructure, particularly to support our clinically extremely vulnerable, so those sort of 35,000 people that we know are at greatest risk. But that's really grown and shaped. So I've just sent, I was typing an email during one of those updates. We've just been asked if we can do some positive, proactive contact with lorry drivers who may be awaiting for New Haven crossings but have tested positive, and can we do a kind of a daily welfare check? So to say we've diversified our offer would probably be an understatement. We're also now within that community hub also overseeing the local tracing partnership. So the contacts that we're making to people who are positive for COVID across East Sussex as well as West Sussex. So we've offered some mutual aid to our colleagues across the border. So my teams this morning came in really focused on how we could support our education colleagues. So knowing that our schools have had a pretty terrible weekend trying to work out which way might be up, and I suspect by about 8:30 there'll be another way that we're moving as we consider something that might be a tier 5 or again a change to the school model. So we're certainly seeing COVID grow and change in terms of complexity. I think for the large part of last year, my workforce were pretty much 100% focused on our community response to COVID. So whilst we did keep some things going, we also redeployed. So our libraries were shut during the first lockdown. You weren't in a position to come in and browse, but we redeployed those library staff to make what we described as keeping in touch calls. So a weekly outbound contact to anybody who wanted it, needed it, felt that they would like to have a conversation. And some of those elements worked incredibly well for us, and there is a significant amount of data that I'm more than happy to share with yourselves if that's something that would be of interest. I suppose what we are seeing now are some different pressures. So I took quite a strong lead around some of our death management work and some of the things that are obviously not so pleasant to talk about in terms of the need for additional mortuary capacity, those things that we had to put in place in March and April. But thankfully we didn't draw on in the first phase of lockdown. But as we're seeing that really significant rise in infections and that significant pressure across our hospital estate, I think, realistically, we probably will be utilising those measures that we put in place. So ultimately, that's the position that we knew that we may well reach. There have been some big decisions that we've had to make today, as well, in terms of some of the practical management. So you'll know that government changed the death registration process to being something that you could do over the phone, so it didn't require you to have a face-to-face appointment. That's been something that we've been able to deliver therefore the whole of the way through the pandemic, but we've made the decision to postpone birth registrations again, to shift that balance, to give us more capacity in that space. Sadly, again, our libraries are closed for browsing, but we are still able to deliver the Select and Collect, which has been a phenomenal success. I don't think we had any idea how impressively well used that would be. So residents having the opportunity either to go online and choose their books themselves, or to put their reading fortune in the hands of a librarian and ask for 3 books on cookery and 2 on cricket, or whatever the mix might be. and to come and collect those. We have made the decision today to suspend access to the public computers that we provide in our libraries. We know that, again, they're really well used, everything from people wanting to do their own personal research, the family tree, send photos to their grandchildren, but also in terms of the benefit piece. But the risk of having people into our buildings, particularly the complexity of cleaning keyboards and computer equipment, is quite a challenge. And I think given that where we are in terms of the sort of the vulnerability of our population, particularly that are using those, that's a decision that we've not taken lightly today, to decide that sadly, at least until the end of January, we're going to need to put a halt to that piece. So there's quite a significant amount of work, I suppose, that's going on behind the scenes. We've had a reasonably well tried and tested sort of internal model that's been about working across the whole council. So I've certainly provided a lot of support to my colleagues in adult social care, children's social care, again to make sure that we share that burden, that we take some of that responsibility, and a large percentage of that then has fallen in around some of the hardship funding. So we spent the run up to Christmas organising supermarket vouchers for our free school meals children. We'll do the same again in the February half term, but we've also launched a number of other hardship related funds, some of which I'm sure will be of great interest to yourself. So we've got a variety of models being delivered by Age UK, who I know are a really strong partner in your part of the world. So they're doing a fantastic job in terms of delivering hot meals and food parcels to people. And we've funded them to really be able to expand that operation to increase the number of people that they can assist. We've also put a significant amount of money across to citizens advice, again to really support around utility bills, particularly with the heating costs, but also to pick up around wider energy costs and also around water bills. So we know that as people begin to feel that economic pressure and that hardship, actually water bills are one of the last things that people will pay. So again, wanting to make sure that we can support people. So citizens advice, again, delivering it absolutely phenomenally through their telephone model, as well as some of their face-to-face work. And we have just launched, I suppose it's a grant fund, although that doesn't sit quite as comfortably, but we know that there was a huge wealth of mutual aid groups that stood up in the first lockdown, and we would never have managed to support the population of West Sussex without those groups. But we know that a lot of those have really put, everything into that work. And again, Mayor, you talked about the food and the gifts that were sort of distributed to families within your geography over the Christmas period. So we've provided via Sussex Community Foundation, I suppose it is a cost recovery kind of grant programme to really encourage parish councils, town councils, mutual aid groups to, in essence, apply to have the money that they've spent recovered, to enable them to do more and to continue to do that work in their community. So we're really hoping, as we sort of back to work sort of Monday, I think today, that we can really encourage the promotion of that. It would be great to see local applications coming in from across West Sussex, but particularly I know the mutual aid piece has been really strong, and I know that town councils along with faith groups have played a really big role in supporting residents. So really keen to encourage that. As you might expect with any kind of government-based COVID grant, there are some time constraints and there are some hoops. We've tried to minimise those as much as possible, and using Sussex Community Foundation we think is a really good way of making that process simple and straightforward. So I'd really urge you to share that information. And likewise, I know that Julie, I'm sure, will give us all the support that she can in terms of sharing information about where residents can go to access the citizens advice assistance, as well as those other options that are available. So a significant amount of work achieved in 2020, but I think the next 3, 4, 5 months are probably going to be tougher than they have been. I think the thing that I draw confidence from is we've tested, we've stress tested certainly most of our response. It's now really about that volume and how we make sure we keep our workforce safe, as well as making sure that we're protecting our residents. So they were probably the kind of the top sort of key whistle-stop tour, but I'm really happy to take questions.
Oh, that's brilliant, Emily. Thank you. No, that's very, very comprehensive. Do we have any questions for Emily from the council? I forgot to welcome Councillor Norman Webster, cabinet member from District Council, of course, tonight. You're very, very welcome. So Emily, we don't have any questions, and therefore I'm going to ask the Deputy Mayor if he would just say, propose a vote of thanks to you for coming along tonight and giving us such a comprehensive.
Before you do that, Chairman, you do have a question,
Oh,
Councillor.
we've got, sorry, we have a hand has appeared. Councillor Amos.
Thank you very much for that update. That was really extensive, and I've got a lot of notes there, which are very helpful. You've outlined quite a lot of spending. I was wondering what kinds of cuts you're considering in order to reduce the West Sussex County Council's deficit, because I think it's very easy to outline spending money, but it seems that government generally isn't very good at cutting it. So what are the proposals for cuts?
Okay, so if I can, I suppose, just caveat that the spend that I've talked about is directly in relation to COVID. So I think it's important for me just to, I suppose to clarify that where we have new money, it is directly in relation to the requirements for us to provide that response to support those, particularly those clinically extremely vulnerable. So certainly there are things that we can spend. And certainly, that's describing that work. In terms of the council's financial position, I'm sure that you are following and tracking through the published council papers. So you'll be aware that tomorrow our cabinet will discuss the first round of savings proposals that have been put forward to help us address the budget deficit for the next financial year, and you will see, and I can send you the link if you haven't seen those papers, but you will see that there are a significant range of different savings proposals being put forward. They're not all sitting within my portfolio, so whilst I have lots of people and we've been very busy and we're very focused around the COVID response, I'm very small as a directorate in terms of revenue spend. So you'll know that the lion's share of the County Council's money is spent by adult social care and by children's social care, and I am a minor player in that space. So the proposals that I've put forward for my directorate will only ever go a very, very small way towards the council budget. But there are some things in there from a communities director perspective, which I'm happy to discuss if that's useful. Julie, want to nod? So from a communities director perspective, I found some vacant posts, which I'm handing in because making vacant posts as part of a saving is always better than making people redundant. We are engaged in a couple of conversations with some parish councils who are interested in working with us around some property that we have where we currently deliver services, and they're keen to look at a community hub. We have an increase in income, so part of our savings model also enables us to think about where we could generate more money. So one of those areas is around our copy certificates. So I've got an income generation target in there, and the other elements from my portfolio are about, I suppose, tidying up around some of our structures. So they're small sums of money, but we had an indicative target which I have achieved. You'll note that there are other elements there, and it probably would be remiss of me as an officer to discuss what those look like until Cabinet have had their meeting tomorrow, but certainly if you haven't got those links to where that's playing through, you can see that. What we have done and what my finance director colleagues have done over the Christmas break is really work the numbers on the funding settlement to really understand what that looks like for us if decisions are made around council tax or around business rates. And I'm sure that Councillor Webster will be aware of similar conversations happening at the District Council as well. So for us really at this point in the financial year, it's about understanding what the money coming in might look like. We recognise that the COVID spend and the COVID budget, as was alluded to, is different money from government, but then it is really about being fit for the future. From my personal perspective, I think there are things that we will deliver in the short term that will enable us to meet the immediate challenge for 21-22, and that's required, obviously that we have to have a balanced budget sheet, so we're not in a position to not balance those books, but there will be significant challenges for us to meet some of the medium-term financial strategy gaps. So certainly from a an officer perspective in terms of the relationship then with yourselves and with district councils, we'll be really keen to provide some of that continuity and that discussion. So certainly within the Communities Directorate, I would anticipate that it's probably me that will be coming to talk to you if there are other things that are going to impact or potentially would impact in your particular geography. You'll know again that any local authority decision to change a service, to make any savings or to alter the way that we deliver something requires a key decision if it's going to impact across more than one division or more than £500,000, and therefore again there will be rafts and rafts of consultation over the next months. And again, once we've had Cabinet tomorrow, you'll then see the rounds of select committees scrutinise all of the different proposals that are playing out before that final budget confirmation. So I think we're at the beginning, although it feels like we've put hours and hours and weeks and months of work into it, we really are at the beginning of what those savings proposals will look like. And it is an incredibly challenging time. Whilst there is money to support some of the COVID activity, there is absolutely, a significant pressure on the public sector, and I think, we're all living and breathing that. So, but I'm more than happy to be your point of contact. And if there are particular questions that come up or that you think of, then do use me as your route into the County Council. I'm more than happy to provide that for you.
Emily, thank you so much indeed. That is so informative, so very, very kind.
Thank you.
A terrific offer. Thank you very much indeed. Deputy Town Mayor, would you like to propose a vote of thanks for Emily coming along to us, and indeed for everything that she said tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Town Mayor. Yes, thank you, Emily, for finding time to update us tonight, especially given potential announcements at 8 p.m. I think clearly a great deal of unexpected and complex strategic planning and implementation work has been carried out and continues to be carried out since the outbreak of COVID. So thank you and well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, from all of us. Emily, please don't feel as though you've got to stick with us tonight. I'm sure that you must be busy, and so if you wish to leave, that's absolutely fine. But of course, you are very welcome to stay if you wish. Thank you so much again. Bless you.
Thank you.
We're going to move to consider meetings, just to validate meetings that we've got. I'm going to ask Councillor Visser, the Chair of Planning, to come forward to propose the planning minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Town Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to again thank my wonderful planning committee and my new Vice Chair, Councillor Odie, and their continued hard work and dedication through what a very difficult time. And to conduct the planning meetings online, they've all taken to it brilliantly. They're handling it amazingly, and I think we've got a very slick operation running. We've had some very big agendas. Lots of people are wanting to do home offices, improve their living accommodation, and make their houses bigger and better. So our agendas are growing. I think we've got 39 applications on Wednesday, although a lot of them are East Town Council ones for waymarkers, so we won't be talking on those, but we still have a very long, very thorough agenda to get through, and I have every confidence in my committees. So thank you very much. I look forward to more success as we've got some big applications coming up over this year. I'd like to propose the planning minutes for the 7th and the 26th of October, the 11th of November, and the 7th of December 2020. Could I have a second for those, please?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Odie. Has anyone got any questions about any of those? In that case, can we show of hands to adopt them? Thank you, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed. And now I'd like to move to public services, and that, of course, is the chair is chaired by Councillor Mrs. Motley. You're on mute, Julie.
That's better, although some of you might not think so. I'd just like to thank my committee for their continued efforts and wonderful debates that we always have. And just thank you for being there. And I know it's tricky sometimes with with this Zoom lark, which I have found out to my cost, but I'm getting there. So anyway, without further ado, thank you, committee. And I should like to propose my public services held on the 3rd of the 12th, 2020. May I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Woodgate. Thank you, Councillor Woodgate. Do we have any questions on those minutes? Thank you. Can I just move to the vote then? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs Mockford. And can we now move to Councillor Mrs Farron, the Chair of Amenities and Tourism.
Thank you, Town Mayor. Just before I move to adopt the minutes of the Amenities and Tourism Committee, I really just would like to have a little thanks. I know it seems to be a thank you night, but I'd really like to thank the continued work of everyone at Eastcourt and all the staff there. It's been really challenging times for them and they've worked incredibly hard. But I really would like to do a particular thank you for Miss Jones. She has done an amazing job with the town's burial services. I know that she's found some of it really challenging. She's had to think on her feet the whole time with the rules changing of people that can attend funerals, and she's dealing with people's emotions on top of everything else. And she did mention at our last meeting that she was thoroughly supported by the team, and that just goes to show what a team we do actually have supporting us as town councillors. So I would like to thank all of them, but a particular note for Miss Jones. Now I'd like to move to propose the minutes of the Amenities and Tourism Committee on the 10th of December 2020. Please may I have a second?
I would like to second that.
Thank you.
Down there.
Thank you, Councillor Peacock. And please, can we, any questions before we move to a vote? No questions. If I can move for everyone to vote for the minutes, thank you. Thank you, Town Clerk.
And thank you very much indeed. And finally, Councillor Swetton, who is the leader of the council, the Finance and General Purposes minutes.
Thank you, Town Mayor. And once again, I would like to thank my committee for all the hard work they've done throughout the year. We've had some, obviously it's always difficult decisions we have to make, and I think we've done the right things throughout this last year. I would like to continue and propose the minutes for the 17th of the 12th, 2020. Do I have a seconder?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do I have any questions? So, Town Mayor, are those agreed? Thank you, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you for all your hard work and for the officers' hard work, of course, as well, without whom we'd really struggle. I'd like to authorise item number 10, to authorise the sealing of the following documents. Grant of exclusive right of burial numbers 2209, 2210, 2211 and 2002 to 2008, 2002 to 2008 was done at the October meeting. So just to authorise the sealing of those burial numbers, I would like to propose them. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second that, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Town Mayor. Can I have a show of hands for that? Thank you very much indeed. That's sorted. I need to approve the dates for council meetings in 2021 to 22. The Finance and General Purposes considered the list of committee meeting dates at their meeting on the 17th of December. However, it is reserved to council to approve the meetings of the full council. The list is attached. You've all seen the list which was attached. This will mean that the dates are for annual town council meeting 10th of May 21. Special Council for Accounts 17th of June 21. 5th of July 2021, 4th of October 21, 10th of January 22, 31st of January 22, and the 4th of April 22. I would like to propose those dates. Can I have a second, please?
Happy to second that, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed, Deputy Town Mayor. Can I have a show of hands then? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. And I've been asked to remind everybody that once these meeting dates are agreed, that one should make every effort to attend them. It is our responsibility as councillors to attend them. Item 12, to appoint Councillor Mrs Mockford to vote at the West Sussex and Local Councils AGM, EGM, as recommended by the Finance and General Purposes Committee, to accompany our existing voter, the lovely Councillor Whitaker. And Councillor Mrs Mockford is recommended to be approved as the second voter for East Grinstead Town Council for the AGM, or should an EGM be called where Mrs Mockford should not vote. Can I have a second for that, please?
Happy to second that, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Town Mayor. And can I have a show of hands, please? That's excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Is there anybody that would like to make a comment on that? There is a note here. Please ask for a second and comment. Since we've voted on it, I think that's pretty academic, so let's leave that now.
Chairman, if I can just clarify what you said in introduction, Councillor Mrs Mockford would have equal voting rights for AGM or an EGM, so it would be either or both.
That was a little bit murky for me there. I'm very sorry. I hope everybody's happy with that. Is everybody happy with that? God bless you all. That's great. And to review the standing orders and financial regulations of the Town Council, the Council review these annually against any changes in good practice or anomalies. The officers have no changes to put forward for this year. Council will be asked to confirm the current documents or to propose any changes. Does anybody propose any changes? In which case, can I take it, Julia, that they are accepted?
Sorry, Councillor Amos has put his hand up to say something.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Amos. I'm pleased, no disrespect. What would you like to say?
None taken. Well, I've got a few points to make, if you don't mind. I read through the whole of the standing orders and financial regulations, which are the thrilling read. And I wanted to ask, firstly, about item 9E. Does that mean that the Town Council, or rather the committee, can limit the number of journalists within the council chamber to 2? And I can read it for clarity's sake.
Yeah, if you would please, that would be good.
It reads, the press shall be provided with reasonable facilities for the taking of their report of all or part of a meeting at which they are entitled to be present. The council shall not be required to accommodate more than 2 representatives. I'd like to know what that means, please.
Perhaps the Town Clerk could elucidate on that.
Yes, absolutely. What it means is it limits our responsibility to provide seating and a table for more than 2. If we were to have 10, 15 members of the press turn up, we couldn't possibly accommodate them with reasonable tables and chairs and still be able to get everybody into the council chamber and hear what was being said. So we used to provide a press desk automatically. We do still, for committees, have the ability to have a press desk, and if we had press present who wanted to have a desk, we would be able to bring a desk in, but we limit our responsibility to no more than 2, where we would have to provide that desk for. But the room can be full of press people, that's not a problem. It's just the number that we are required to provide the reasonable facilities for.
Thank you very much. I think in these straitened times nowadays, it's more to do with the internet than local press. In fact, I can't remember the last time we had a local press member one come on. Councillor Amos, are you happy with that response, or did you want to come back?
I read through this and I made quite a few comments on it, so I'd like to put them forward, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to inquire as to motion, or rather Standing Order 9E and 9F, which reads, if the wording or subject of a proposed motion is considered improper, the proper officer, that's the town clerk, shall consult with the chairman of the forthcoming meeting, or, as the case may be, the councillors who have convened the meeting, to consider whether the motion shall be included in the agenda or rejected. And an F is, subject to Standing Order 9E above, the decision of the proper officer as to whether or not to include the motion on the agenda shall be final. If I'm allowed to do it, and that is a big if, I'd like to get rid of both of those standing orders, because I don't think it should be up to the town clerk, however nice she may be, to determine what's on the agenda, given the fact she's an unelected council official, whilst councillors are elected.
That's quite a statement, Councillor Amos. Town Clerk, would you like to come back on that one?
Well, the only comment I'd make is that that is indeed not what's written in our standing orders at the moment. That anybody can make any councillor can make a proposal subject on the agenda. All councillors know that, and Councillor Amos has made many a motion, which of course has been put on the agenda. Sometimes I discuss the wording with him for clarity, or for you know, to make it sound better, or maybe not to make it illegal or something like that. And likewise, then discussion is always had with the chairman as well of the appropriate committee. So we do fulfil the rules that are in there at the moment. If you choose, the end of I say to you is that this is based on the standard national model. If you choose to remove parts of your standing orders, that is in the gift of this council so to do.
I think that's a very fair comment.
I must remind you of the rules about motions at the moment, that if the council wishes to make a proposal, it will need to be seconded before any vote can be had on it.
Yes, I
propose that then.
And I think that would come from the body of the council, rather than a sporadic sort of proposal like this. I'm sorry, Councillor Amos. I'm going to close this meeting now. The next Town Council meeting is Monday the 25th of January, when the budget and precept will be set. Thank you very much for your attendance tonight. I've got my gavel and I'm closing the meeting at exactly, as I can see, 2000 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Town Mayor.
Thank you, Town Mayor.